Hi, thank you for joining me today. My name is Gael Sylvia, host of SylviaGlobal.com. My special guest today is Abigail Burgesson. Thank you for being with us here at the Women's Funding Network Summit in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Talk to us about the program that you are heading up and the special services that you provide to women in Africa.
I work for the African Women's Development Fund. The African Women's Development Fund is the first Africa-wide grant-making foundation in Africa. We support African women's initiatives, working in 6 thematic areas: women's human rights, women's health and reproductive rights, governance, peace and security, health and reproductive rights, HIV and AIDS, arts, sports and culture. So we fund women's groups all over Africa, working under these thematic areas, and we are located in Ghana, West Africa, from where we operate. We don't have any office anywhere at the moment. We only do everything from Accra, Ghana, and we have been around since the year 2000.
How many women and girls and families do you serve?
Multitudes. I mean, so far we have funded in 42 African countries. 42 African countries, and we have funded 800 organizations in the 42 African countries to the tune of $19 million since 2001. Pardon me. The funds are raised from mostly international institutional donors globally, most of them being based in the global north. We have some individual contributions as well, and then a few corporate support around the country. But the bulk of the funding comes from international institutional donors.
And are there partnerships with these donors that go beyond their financial contributions? Do they provide other services and resources?
Well, basically they give us the grants to support these initiatives, because for most of them who are doing work on the continent, they are not able to reach the constituency of women we are dealing with. I mean, we deal with mostly community-based women's groups to larger organizations, advocacy groups. And it is expedient for most of these donors to channel their funding through us, because we are an Africa fund, we know where the groups are, we know what the issues are, and they also respect our views as far as the issues we have decided to support. These are the 6 thematic areas I mentioned earlier. So what we do in addition to making grants to these organizations is to support them with capacity building needs, because for most of them they have come up out of a situation to address a need in their communities. For instance, during the Liberian War, a number of women's groups and organizations came up to support women in Liberia. The post-election violence in Kenya also saw the emergence of new groups trying to address women's issues following the violence that emerged after the elections. These groups tend to stay on longer after they have dealt with these issues, or as we know, wars never really end. They're always undermining currents. And so it is expedient for us to help them build their capacities as an organization so that they could do their work better, and then also enable them to spread their tentacles wider to address more issues within their geographic regions.
You also become the face of the philanthropy, and as the donor that's giving the monies, that they can see someone who looks like them, that knows and understands the culture, giving the money, as opposed to, even if the support is coming from offshore, it's someone that looks like them and that's familiar, and there's a degree of respect that...
I think that is right. That is absolutely right, because we understand the issues. We know what the prevailing trends are. For instance, although we have a criteria for grant making and a time and a date by which proposals for grants should come in, we know that we are living on a volatile continent, that anything could emerge. Looking at the situation, the political situation on the continent. So much as we can say that, yes, there's a deadline, should there be elections in my country now, and the elections should generate into something, we should be on the ground to support women's groups that are doing work to alleviate the plight of women, especially if there should be some violence, displacement of women in the course of these. And usually these things emerge with sexual abuse towards women, we should be able to say that, look, where are the organizations we are funding that they are doing women's rights work, through whom we can channel resources to help set up or manage crisis centers. We can't say the grant-making time is over, so we cannot do this. Right. We are very mindful of the situation in which we find ourselves on the continent, and that is what makes it easier for our grantees to identify with us.
How can our viewers support your work? How can you be supported?
Oh, we can be supported in many ways, specifically the donation to the African Women's Development Fund online donation, which could be found on our website, awdf.org, www.awdf.org. Yes, www.awdf.org. That is, yeah. And then also you could just contact any African Women's Development Network. In the USA, we have the African Women's Development Fund USA branch. That is an organization that is helping us address the issues of African women, changing the narratives of we African women. We are not just helpless women who are not doing anything, as has been portrayed all the time. It pays for you to visit African women on the continent and for you to see the interventions they are making to solve the situation within their communities. 2 years ago, we organized a donor tour to Kenya, Uganda, and Ghana for a number of women's groups based in the US, the Minnesota Women's Fund, and other members of WFA to visit groups, and that was a mind-changing experience for most of them. This year in October, we are doing the same thing. It's Swaziland, Zambia, and South Africa. And I tell you, by the time they get back, they have a new perspective, new respect for African women, and they look forward to joining hands and making a change, which a number of them have started doing after that visit.
Abigail Burgesson, thank you so much for being with us today. Congratulations on the wonderful work that you're doing, and look forward to meeting you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.